everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Transformation Conversations 2022. I am very excited about this two-episode series. We're going to cover streaming data. And the reason I'm pretty excited about it is it isn't often we have what I would call an order of magnitude innovation, something that's going to change the way we've done data movement in a substantial way. So with me, as always, is the founder and president of Prolific Banking, Scott Graf. Hey, Scott.
Hello.
So our first episode, we're going to cover, some fundamentals about streaming. And then in our second episode, we're going to talk about enabling real-time payments. But this isn't necessarily a new technology. It's actually something that's come about along with other cloud technologies, and Scott will talk more about that, but it is already in use in trading platforms. Obviously, very heavy emphasis on real-time data there. And as we move into that world of real-time data, I think this is going to become more and more and more important. So with that, let's kick it off, Scott. So let's start with what is streaming and what technology supports it?
Yeah, great foundational question. So streaming at a basic level is the ability to send and receive, a continuous flow of information between two sources. At a more advanced level, it's a method of information exchange as a kind of a many-to-many relationship whereby interested parties, they can choose to simply consume, act upon, or ignore the real-time messages in the stream of communication. Like APIs, as you mentioned, Joe, streaming is not a new technology, and it's widely supported yet vastly underused today. Some packaged technology constructs you may be familiar with in the market, some older like MQ style messaging, or the more eloquently named, Apache Kafka.
Okay, so with that, how is streaming different from traditional data delivery methods? Because I think that's really sort of the crux of this, right?
Sure. Well, and it's funny that you say that and pose the questions that way. And my apologies for showing some technical roots here, but streaming is very similar to the socket connections of yesterday. When the world departed what are admittedly, brittle connections, socket connections are brittle, in favor of the more famous disconnected request response routines of the internet. We ran into those problems of stateless correspondence. So we created these cute little names like cookies, and we stopped calling a client, and we call them browsers now. But our interactions became, if I may, more SMS versus a telephone call, where there was that constant stream of communication. So, and one interesting thing is, when you're downloading a file via FTP or even over the web, that's real old technology, right? But you are in fact streaming. You're streaming data. There's a socket connection where there's a continuous flow of information. So, I say these things to ensure conceptually that from a technical standpoint, moving large amounts of data from point A to point B is still leveraging tried and true technologies, which is why it's not a huge hurdle to implement those types of things. So this all being said, when we think of business processes, we're attuned to batch or what we call real-time messaging, call those APIs nowadays, I think. That's all cool, but you are still in a disconnected request response type situation. And yes, I just said APIs are a traditional delivery method. Streaming is always on and available. It's not about delivery anymore, but it's more about availability. So the consumer of information should be able to simply connect, choose, filter for the information they are interested in, and that's it. So at a high level, you can think of us as human beings, like as we talk about, logging into Netflix and checking out our favorite movie or show. At a system level, integrations become message maps, and you're able to stand things up and process at speeds unknown before. At a commercial banking level, I can authenticate to get information, and the information that I want as soon as it's available, or I can stay subscribed and simply watch the information flow.
So I guess from a non-technical perspective, and similar to video streaming, what I'm picturing is that there is a constant stream of data to which a user could subscribe, and at any given point in time, they could ask for some portion of that stream in whatever format to be delivered to whatever channel. Does that sound about right?
That's exactly right. And one extra layer of abstraction there is it could be a human being consuming the information or another system.
Okay. So, as as our industry transitions to real-time payments and obviously a lot more real-time data, real-time, digital cores and the like, will streaming support immediate data flows and application integration?
Absolutely, right. The most obvious probably being risk, as RTP invites a lot of that into the picture, talking about fraud detection, warehousing, having information as close to, or having inflection points as close to transaction origination as possible is very, very important. And some of the less obvious things that we talk a lot about around here are opportunities around older style services such as controlled disbursement or cash position type reports.
Okay, great. So with that, so how would streaming work in a typical bank environment? Just to put it in context for our viewers.
Sure. Number one is being able to leverage already what you have. Right? You don't want to have to rip everything out, replace everything. We talk about Kafka and these fun words and those types of things, but it can be something that's layered, not as a middleware, but as a communication type style hub, if you will. So, what I sometimes tell people, and I lose people a bit, but it's a merge of information into a highly performant flow of data filtered by authenticated role-based groups, whereby real-time information is made available via a multitude of separate channels. Great. What did I just say, right? So, while my internal banking systems are consuming information flows, I can, via APIs that I may have recently invested in, or even linking into direct streaming brokers, directly feed my corporate customers' vendors. But I don't have to stand up expensive middleware with all of the API SDKs and the like for style of integration therein.
So is it reasonable to assume that, again, it's an evolution, not a revolution. It'll take time for this, new technology to burn in. But is it a reasonable assumption that if a bank has clients that are using cloud-based financial applications, that those applications might actually already support streaming and actually require data streams as opposed to some of the more traditional ways of moving data?
Absolutely. One example of that from more of a bank IT side are, systems such as Snowflake or, archives or all sorts of other, systems that already have RESTful APIs you can communicate with, but they can also subscribe directly to a Kafka streaming event or sit on the other side of MQ if we want to talk about a payment processing system. So it's all connected and linked. And the whole point is that you don't want to have to rip out technologies. I don't want to say older technologies, because some of these technologies, they run just fine. Same thing with your payment systems. You don't have to rip all that stuff out either. So you want to be able to augment these things while abstracting that central hub, if you will, of information. So you can continue to do business the way you're doing it today, but you can also invite customers, corporate customers in and use more of those abstractions so that there aren't these hardcore integrations that need to be developed.
Sure. And I guess based on my understanding, I can see streaming playing a critical role in, contextual banking, embedded finance, very tightly integrated solutions like that. But we'll leave it there for now. Again, I'm really excited about this. I think this is a game changer. And we're really going to dig into it in our next episode. We're going to talk about enabling real-time payments. So look for that. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, please feel free to leave some comments. We'll also have it on our blog at prolificbanking.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to our next episode. Thanks, Scott. Have a great day.